Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Maddie. Welcome back to my channel. For this week's video, I'm going to be filming a little bit of a Q&A, answering some of you guys' questions that you guys sent me on my Instagram. If you don't follow my Instagram, I'm gonna do a shameless self-promo. Go ahead and follow it. I post all the time on Instagram, so if you want to be friends, go ahead and go follow it. But like I said, I asked you guys to ask me questions on my Instagram. I did one of those little question things, and I figured it's been a while since we've caught up, talked, had a little bit of a chat. So yeah, I'm gonna be answering these from you guys, and I'm super excited to chit chat. If you're watching this, by the time you're watching this, I will probably be working in Hawaii. I'm doing a bunch of pre-filming, which I'm sure if you're watching my videos in real time, you're like, why does she keep saying this? It's just because I'm on my like posting and filming grind, trying to pre-upload all these videos. But yeah, I'm working in Hawaii this summer, and it's gonna be super fun, and hopefully I can get some vlogs up for you guys. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the questions. This first question says, how did you deal with the nerves of starting your freshman year of college? For those of you who don't know, or maybe seeing my face or watching my videos for the first time, I am going to be a junior in college next year, which is crazy. I've literally never said that out loud. So I have 2 years of college under my belt. I go to Liberty University. I'm a social work major with a global studies minor. I absolutely love it. It is the best school ever. I was feeling so many nerves, and I'm sure if any of you guys are freshmen watching this or about to be freshmen watching this, you guys are probably feeling some of those same feelings. Just know you're not alone. So many people are going through those same feelings. I'm pretty sure everybody that heads off to college gets super nervous because you have to start over. You have to kind of reinvent yourself in a way, because you've established an identity at home and you have to reestablish one at school, and it's up to you how you're going to deal with that and how you're going to put your best foot forward. So there is a lot of nerves that comes with that, but I would say my best piece of advice is to try to be proactive and meet people. I've said this in so many of my videos, but try to meet people ahead of time on social media. Social media is a great tool that we are now able to utilize in terms of getting to know people before heading off to school, so you kind of have some familiar faces, make some friends. That really helped me, so that I didn't feel like I was going into a situation where I didn't know anyone. Like, I actually came in knowing a bunch of girls and guys from Instagram. So what I personally did was, there are probably going to be a bunch of Instagram accounts that are like, oh, like, for example, at Liberty, it's like LU class of 2025. There's probably going to be a bunch of variations of those Instagram accounts where they post profiles of people, and you kind of like explain, like you send it in a DM, like, these are some pictures of me, this is like my interest, this is what I'm going to be majoring in, this is where I'm living on campus. So I sent in a little profile, and from that, people started following me, and I started following people, and I would follow other people if I wanted to be friends, and then I would DM them. Just basically try to be proactive. Also join Facebook groups. That's really helpful. Again, this is probably really repetitive because I've said this in a lot of my videos, but it really did help my nerves, like feeling like I knew people and starting to build somewhat of a community before I even got there. I followed both of my roommates that I now live with, that I lived with this past year, and I'm going to be living with my junior year. I met both of them online before I actually met them in person, and we hit it off, and we became super close, closer towards my second semester of my freshman year. But that being said, you never know if you're going to be meeting like your best friends. You might just be talking to people that you don't end up getting super close with, but it is really good to get your foot in the door in a way and kind of get to know people, so that you're able to have some familiar faces, because I feel like it is scarier if you don't feel like you have some community there. This question says, do you like your short hair? Yes, I love it. Thoughts on Kanye West? I feel like that's pretty obvious because I am a Taylor Swift fan, so not a big fan. This is a great question. It says, how would you handle having friends from high school going to college with you? So I did not personally have to experience this. I think I went to my school with like 8 other people from my high school, but I wasn't super close or like best friends with any of them. Most of my friends went to different schools too. My friends ended up going both to Chapel Hill. So they've kind of run in the same friend group, which has been really cool to watch. But I haven't personally dealt with this, but I feel like I would probably struggle a little bit with it, because I feel like college is the time for you to fully understand who you are and come into your identity like separate from everything you've grown up in, and like kind of figure out what you believe, what your passions are, what your hobbies are. Like I feel like all of that comes into actualization once you're in college. So I can imagine that being hard for myself if I were to go to college with people from high school, because I would obviously love to have them there, especially if they're a super close friend, but I feel like it would be difficult because I would want to branch out. I would have this conflict between wanting to stay true and be like, oh, you've been my friend for so long, like I have my loyalty to you, but also being like, okay, but I want to branch out and make new friends and like have that separate community. So I would say it would have to be a very delicate balance of being honest with each other and saying like, hey, I love you and obviously you're gonna be in my life, but I want to see what else is out there kind of conversation. Like I feel like it would have to be a super brutally honest conversation if that's how you're feeling, and being like, okay, like I want to create my own identity here, and with that comes branching out from high school and high school friends, and so I obviously still want to be close, but let's both like meet other people and obviously still have each other. So I don't know if that's helpful at all, but I feel like that would have to be a really honest conversation that you would have to have together, and I would definitely have to have with my friends if I did end up going to college with any of my close high school friends. This question says, how do you find friends who push you closer to Christ? I go to a Christian university, so for the vast majority of people, they are believers. Whether or not they act that out in their real life depends on the person, because you can be a Christ follower or a believer but not actually act like it, you know, if you know what I'm saying. Like nobody's perfect obviously, but it is important to find people who practice what they preach and actually act out the gospel in their daily lives. So look for that fruit. If you're seeing someone you're like, oh, they seem cool, like I think we'd be good friends, look for the fruit in their life that comes from their faith in the Lord. Are they serving others? Are they putting others before themselves? Are they having conversations that are fruitful and not just about other people? I feel like that's one thing that I struggle with. Is I follow Jesus and I am a Christ follower, but one thing I struggle with is having my conversations not be super beneficial or fruitful, or just be about dumb things that aren't of eternal value. So I have to check myself on that too, because I want to be someone that they're like, oh, she's set apart and I can tell that she is different from others because of the way that she acts, and I know that that's because she has a faith in Jesus. So you want to be somebody that others can look at and be like, oh, this person's different. Why are they different? Oh, it's because of their relationship with the Lord. Let me check that out. So your actions are actually able to be a witness. So I want to be friends with people who actually are having that witness about them. I love this question. I've never been asked this question before, and I feel like a lot of my questions end up being repetitive, especially if they're liberty themed. But this question says, what are some of the best ways that you have learned to live in the moment? That is one thing that I try to do every single day. It's obviously super hard. I think that having Instagram, TikTok, like all of these different distractions make it so much harder than it should be, and I struggle with that because I want to post on my social media. Like I think social media can be a great tool to like spread positivity, spread joy, spread life, spread the gospel even, but it can be really distracting, especially when it comes to living in the moment. So I don't know. I think one way that I've tried to live more in the moment is when I'm with my friends to just like not be on my phone. It can be really tempting to be like hanging out, just watching a movie or something, or like watching The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, for example. Me and my friends have bachelor nights a lot of the time, but being on my phone is a big distraction from that, especially even if we're just watching another screen, you know. But it's like, how can I change these little habits that I have so that I'm able to be more present? So if it's like, okay, like if we're hanging out and we're at dinner or we're even watching a show or we're playing a game or something, I'm not going to be on my phone because I want to make these memories and like actually be able to remember them, and I think my phone can be a big distraction from that. But that's probably my biggest tip for living in the moment. I am an Enneagram 7. I've talked about this in a bunch of my videos. I think I'm an Enneagram 7. I've tested as an Enneagram 7, but I think 7s are pretty known for living in the moment, but that's probably just because like I always am seeking fun. Like I'm always after doing the things that I think are the most fun. So I try to live that out in my daily life. Obviously, an Enneagram number is not all that I am. I think it can get really tricky when we're talking about Enneagrams to just like put ourselves in a box, and I'm so much more than some silly little personality test, but if that gives you guys any sort of view as to who I am actually. But anyways, yes, try to put your phone away when you're with your friends because it can be a big distraction and it can really hinder you from living in the moment. This question says pros and cons of living at the Hill. The Hill is a place on Liberty's campus that I lived this past year. I had 2 roommates and we had 1 room. It was a little bit of a squeeze for us 3. It's definitely not impossible, but I would say that's one of the cons. Is if I could do it over again, I probably would have done like, I don't know how we would have done that because us 3 wanted to live together, but in another world I would have just wanted to do 1 roommate to live in the Hill, because the rooms are actually really big, but it is a lot more space for just 2 people, and you can buy out the bed, and it still is, I think, less expensive than Commons, which is another option. I lived there my freshman year, but overall I did really like the Hill. They have a fun community. I love the outdoor courtyard because there's like fire pits and like people play Foursquare, so that's really fun. And then also one thing to keep in mind is they do have community bathrooms, so if that's something that you don't enjoy, it was never really a problem for me. I never really cared. But I don't know, the Hill is a great place to live. I would live there again. Another one that's really similar to the Hill is the Circle. I don't really know if they have any actual differences other than like different physical locations, but I did really like the Hill. The only 2 things would be it is a little tight with 3 people, and then there is a community bathroom, but other than that, I think the community was great. This question says, I love your style, thank you. Any tips on finding your own style or going out of your comfort zone? Whew, that's a big one because I feel like I still don't know my exact style. I honestly just wear whatever I like. But one thing that I've learned over the years is that you don't have to overcomplicate it. Like, I feel like this whole thing about like finding your aesthetic or like what things you like aesthetics change, I feel like, based on trends. So like whatever is trendy right now is like an aesthetic, and it's so like not fun, at least for me, to put myself in a box of like, I only wear bright colors. These are the things that I like, when I can actually just wear whatever I want. It doesn't have to be super complicated. I think Emma Chamberlain has a podcast on fashion and style that I've listened to before that I actually really liked, and I gained a lot of knowledge from it. So if you like Emma Chamberlain, go listen to that podcast episode. I don't know what it's called, but it is a fashion related one, and I really liked that particular episode, so go listen to that. It gave me a lot of help. But I don't know, just wear what you want. It doesn't have to be super complicated. Like, wear what makes you feel confident, wear what makes you feel fun. Like, for me, a lot of times it's fun colors. I love wearing a bunch of rings. Again, this is a trend, is like fun rings, fun colors. Summer is a time to wear like bright colors, I feel like, especially just like on TikTok. One thing I feel like does kind of take away from my style is constantly seeing what other people are wearing, because then I find myself being like, oh, like I want to do that. And it's one thing to be inspired, but it's another thing to always be wanting to buy new things because the trend cycle is so fast. It's way faster than it has ever been, I feel like, because there's all these little micro trends. But TikTok sometimes frustrates me because I see all these things on my For You page and I'm like, oh, like I like that, when it's just like, I don't know, I find myself copying things rather than like just wearing what I like because I like how it looks on them. Does that make sense? Like, I just feel like if I'm constantly inundated with different clothing and different trends, it becomes kind of stressful to be like, do I like that or do I not like that? I just am seeing so much content. So taking a step back is really beneficial. Pinterest is fun. I love seeing clothes on Pinterest, so that's been a plus for me. But TikTok can get overwhelming, especially with like those items that are like hyper trendy. Like, I'm trying to think, there's like, I'll insert a picture, there's this one dress that I used to really like, but now I've seen it so many times that I'm just like bored of it, and I feel like it just leaves me feeling a little drained with style when I see all these pieces that like I originally liked, but then everybody gets them. That's why I like thrifting and like sustainable fashion and stuff, because you can find things that like are unique to you that nobody else is gonna have. So yeah, try not to think too much about it or overthink it, because fashion can be so fun and oftentimes we just overcomplicate it, and it does not need to be that complicated. Wear what you like. This question is a question that I get a lot, but it says, how do you edit your Instagram pictures? I will link my video in the description box of how I edit my Instagram pictures. I filmed it, I think, last summer, but I still do the same thing, so go watch that if you guys want to see how I edit them. This question says, will you be vlogging while you're in Hawaii? I hope so. I've said this in some of the beginning of my videos, especially as I'm pre-filming, but I don't know how much free time or available time I'm going to have, because I do not have my phone during the work weeks because I'm going to be working with kids and I'm like a camp counselor, so I'm not going to have my phone during the weeks. I have my phone on the weekends, so I'm going to try to do little vlogs on the weekends and just like edit them on my laptop and get them up for you guys, but I'm not entirely sure what that's going to look like. I will definitely film a lot, but in terms of like actually posting them while I'm there, I don't know how much time I'm gonna have. I might get there and be like, oh my gosh, like I have all this time, like I can definitely film and upload videos every single Sunday, but I might also get there and be like, I don't really have enough time to post all of them, but I will film. So we will see. I'm not entirely sure, but my goal is to still be posting videos while I'm there. This question says, is it difficult to stay connected with the Lord with so much going on at LU? So for those of you who don't know, or if you haven't gathered this from this video, Liberty University is a Christian university. So you're surrounded by a bunch of believers, or most people are believers. Not everybody is a believer. I feel like that's a misconception. Not everybody is a Christ follower at Liberty, but I think yes and no, because it can be really motivating to see other people around you like chasing after the Lord, and that is so amazing. But at the same time, it also leaves a lot of room for comparison, because if you're not doing so well or being as consistent in your walk with the Lord, it can be really difficult to see people who are doing really well and be like, why, like, Lord, why are they there and I'm not there? Like, why are they able to be so close to you, but it's so hard for me to hear you or to feel like you're hearing me? So that can be really hard, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of the time, especially for me, when I was entering Liberty, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is gonna be amazing. It's gonna be a utopia of all these people who love Jesus and are so kind and on fire for the Lord. And in a lot of senses that is true, but nowhere is perfect. And I think I had this idealized version of Liberty in my head, that it was going to be like this perfect place and I was gonna be so on fire for the Lord there. And again, in a lot of ways that is true. I've grown so much in my faith since being to Liberty. My tip would be to not overhype whichever college you're going to in your head, specifically Liberty or any other Christian college, and think that it's going to be perfect once you're there, because that's unrealistic. Nowhere is perfect. Everybody is fallen. I obviously dealt with comparison, and I still deal with comparison to other Liberty students or other students at my university. I think it's impossible to completely steer clear of it, but it is really helpful to remember that everybody is at their own place, and that is ordained by God. Like, you are supposed to be where you are supposed to be right now, and there's nowhere else you should be, because He has you perfectly in the palm of His hand. So that has been really encouraging to me while being at Liberty. So the answer is yes and no. It just depends on where you're at in your faith. This is a cool question. It says, when/how did you start posting so freely on social media? I want to, but it's been hard. That's a good question. I haven't really like thought much about that. Much like with fashion, I think when we overcomplicate things and think too much about them, then they become this big daunting thing. So like, Instagram doesn't have to be a big daunting thing where you care about what other people think about what you're posting if you don't let it be, if that makes sense. Like, I know that's way easier said than done, especially if you're dealing with some sort of judgment from people that you know or people from your school. A lot of the times when you go to college, a lot of that judgment fades away, because honestly, nobody cares what you're doing. It should still be that way in high school, because at the end of the day, most people are more concerned with themselves than they are with you, and if they're talking about you, then that's a reflection more on them than it is on you. So if you want to get into social media and post fun things, like, go for it. It does not have to be complicated. Like, it shouldn't be complicated, and anybody who's filling their time with talking about you and what you're posting clearly like does not have enough going on in their lives to be talking about that's productive. Like, and instead they want to talk about you. Like, doesn't that show more about them than it does about you? I don't know. I feel like it is a reflection on like them. Social media can be a great outlet for posting fun things, spreading joy, spreading positivity, like I said earlier, spreading the gospel even. So don't make it anything more difficult than it needs to be if you can. And it can be super fun. I have fun with social media. I try not to let it get to a place where it's an idol in my life. So that's the one thing that you need to keep yourself in accountability with, is being like, okay, if I didn't have this platform, which is literally just a little square that I press on my screen, like, would I still feel fulfilled with who I am and like who I put my trust in, which is ultimately the Lord. So it has to be something that you keep yourself accountable with, because it can be a stumbling block, or it can be just a fun thing that you like to do. It doesn't have to be super complicated. But yeah, I hope that helps. That about wraps up all of the questions that I have from you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I always like sitting down, and it feels like we're chatting even though you guys aren't responding, but I always love sit down found videos. I love just catching up with you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I love you guys so much. Make sure to like and subscribe. Comment down below your video requests. I read through all the comments. Turn on my post notifications if y'all want a notification for every single time I post a new video so you never miss out on all the fun. And yeah, subscribe if you like me, because I like you guys and I like filming videos and it's so fun. But yeah, I'll see you guys next Sunday with another new video. Bye.